Hi there, my guest this Sunday has been working in the fashion industry for over 30 years. She has seen down 2 global recessions and a pandemic. Her fashion brand, Jasmine Boutique, continues to grow from strength to strength. Everyone, please welcome Diane Jeffers, this week's guest on Sunday Girl.
So excited to be here. Thanks so much.
Listen, you're brightening in every respect up my Sunday afternoon. Look, I'm sitting here in the absolute paradise that is your boutique here in the heart of Tralee. Talk about Jasmine. Let's talk about first the past. So a little bit about Diane, because even though I know you, I probably know you myself 20 years. You're still a mystery to me.
I'm actually surprised that I've never told you this story before, because this is my favorite story of all time, is how I got into fashion and how my love of fashion grew. I was living in the United States and started working in a shoe shop and just immediately loved dealing with customers. And from when I was 21, I started working in Boston in Harvard Square, which is just one of the most amazing places, at a shop named Jasmine. And I was working for an Italian family who had their own clothing line in New York also. So the owner was never there. So he effectively gave me his shop to run after 6 months and said, "You're my new assistant buyer, manager." And then I got to work with his buying team in New York, and they just
And this was all when you were like 18, 19?
This was when I was 21, I went to work for him.
Tell me, what brought you to, the kingdom of Kerry?
Well, I grew up in Ardfert, not far from Banna Beach.
Okay.
And the pull of that whole living near the sea. I think when you grow up near the ocean, it's something that you always want to have in your life. And I stayed in America for 17 years, having grown up here and gone to school here. And I always knew when I started to have my children that I would come home. My family lives here. I live next door to where I grew up as a child. So
it's like full circle, isn't it? Like
full circle.
Full circle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, coming here and starting this business, which I named Jasmine appropriately for, the great experience that I had been given in America, and the opportunity was just a nod to those people.
Yes, a real circle. So you came home and you brought that experience home with you. Where did you open Jasmine?
So we opened in 2010. I had my little girl Molly in 2009. And my partner and I were attending a wedding immediately after Molly was born. And I was probably a little bit bigger than I am today, and I couldn't find a dress. We went to Cork, we went to Limerick, we went, did the circle. And I just found that I wanted to be able to walk into one shop and just have this candy store experience of, dresses jumping out at you. And I found little bits in every shop. So I decided, on that journey home, we were driving back from Mitchellstown with our little baby in between us. And I said, look, I'm opening a shop, and it's just going to be eye-popping, wonderful. And that's what I did.
Now that we're all back in person shopping again after a couple of years of shopping online, you must really find the experience of dealing with customers again so wonderful and so personable.
So I think it's brought a lot of things to the fashion industry that, are actually really nice now that we're back. People love coming into the shop and trying on clothes, something that we haven't had the luxury of doing for a couple of years. And just that talking to people. I find that customers are just so happy to come in, and if you are talking to them, they are just leaving the store with a smile on their face. It's just that piece of customer service that goes beyond that. It's like you come in now as a stranger and you leave as a friend. What we buy for the store is dressing with a person's body shape in mind, and I think that's what makes it, a much better shopping experience, because you're less frustrated when you can come in and try something that suits your shape as opposed to is a fashion trend. I think you've got to have a little bit of both, a good mix in there.
Was the last couple of years difficult in fashion retail, and what changes have you seen?
The last few years were extremely difficult for me personally in the retail scene because the bottom was basically taken out of my core business, which is occasion wear. And because of the cancellation of weddings, any occasion, even last Christmas, we had bought in a lot of party wear, and then there was a shutdown on Christmas parties.
Right,
it was like,
Christmas,
in fact, if you remember, Dan O'Neill came in and gave us a lovely shout out. So thank you, Dan. And
he is a fan.
Yeah, it was just so kind of him. Very difficult. And I did, go off on a tangent, as I think many retailers might have tried to do, and got into casual gear. And I think I kind of lost my way a little bit for a while because I was trying to be all things to all people, when I've always said to myself I need to be true to myself, and what I enjoy doing is dressing people
and that
families.
was your original premise when you set up Jasmine in the very first place, is that you were going to have occasion wear for a woman from head to toe. And it's funny, I mean, obviously I work in the fashion business, and the question I get asked, and I get a lot of messages about this in the last 12 months, is where can I buy occasion wear?
Yeah.
Because women are going back to weddings again. They're dressing up. I mean, we did the races last week, and I never saw so much glamour in style.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to dress up again. But it's actually quite difficult to find a luxury boutique like this that you can just walk into and, get what you want, get a selection of what you want for all age groups.
Yeah. Well,
also doing First Communion wear.
Yeah, so the communion wear I had developed that right before we had to close for COVID, and we had, 2 really good years of growing our communion wear business. We're working with an exclusive American brand called Sweetie Pie, and they are pretty much like the wedding dresses of communion wear without being over the top. I mean, at the end of the day, there's a little girl inside the dress, and that's who we want to showcase. But I think the fun of working with kids, and we had our first appointments yesterday, was just you get to go into almost like Disney character mode, and they're fun, and the more fun you are with them, you get all the feedback from the kids, and it's just such a great experience. And
I used to always say shopping is more than going into the shops. It's about forming human connections.
Yeah.
Because, when I was young and growing up in Dublin, we used to get the bus into town on a Saturday, and we used to shop actually primarily on Henry Street and maybe wander over and just look through the windows in Grafton Street.
Yeah.
But it was a bonding experience. It was a day out.
Yeah.
It was such great fun. And I think, everybody needs to try that again.
Yeah. It's like the days back in Boston on Newbury Street. I don't know if you've ever heard of that most amazing place, but it's basically a street, kind of like, Fifth Avenue in New York, where there's one boutique after the other. And after I had worked at Jasmine, I went working down there, which gave me probably, exposure to some of the best of retail that you could find. I mean, it was high-end designer. And we actually used to have, this is my brag, the Indonesian Royal family would come in, a whole entourage, and they never tried anything on. We would just hold up things that we were, instructed by our Italian boss to show them things, and they would just nod yes and no, and they would take it. But these were the people who were printed on the money that they were paying with. So
Mamma mia!
It was, those were the days. Indonesian Royal family, if you ever want to come to Tralee, I'm here. I'll remember you.
And it's lovely. Some lovely gentleman just walked up the stairs there and handed us cappuccinos.
I like to keep my men like that.
And I mean, after 6, do they come up the stairs and drop off
champagne?
What? Champagne.
Champagne at 6.
Okay, well, I'll hang out till after 6 then.
Yeah.
Listen, Diane, I remember, oh my goodness, it must be 4 years ago. And I said to you, because you walk beautifully, you look beautiful, you have an amazing figure. And I said to you, on the off chance, I probably kind of blurred my conversation. I said something like, hey, Diane, would you like to come and model for me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I remember you didn't even blink. You're like, yes, I would.
It's that impulsivity and joy of life, I think, that, keeps me ticking over. So if you
just embrace the now. That's what you do.
Yeah.
And listen, when Diane got signed, she went off straight. She was in television, but in a week. And she did some of the tougher jobs, let me tell you.
Yes,
Some
I
of the
sure
jobs
did.
that people say to me, I think I'll give that a skip, Orla.
Yeah.
Diane would say, that sounds like an experience.
Yeah, and, a great adrenaline rush. There is nothing, more exciting than, just feeling that nervous energy before you do a stint in your basically underwear on TV. Yeah, so there
We
you
call
go.
it backstage energy, where for about 5 minutes, whether it be a show, whether it be TV, whether it be anything,
Yeah.
for about 5 minutes before everybody goes on, everything goes completely silent. It's like people just go into themselves and they're just thinking about what they have to do. They're thinking about the moment, and it's like the air is electric, isn't it? There's
Yeah.
an electricity in the air.
Yeah.
And then when everybody comes off and has done their job, you hear these little squeals.
Yeah, you psych yourself up, and then you,
okay.
yeah,
Yay,
yeah,
I didn't,
yeah.
I
Then
did
you
it.
let out all the pressure
I didn't
at the
fall
end
over.
in the form of a squeal.
What advice would you give people looking to get into fashion retail and those that support fashion retail?
Well, look, you know, we're surviving fashion and retail because when I opened the boutique in 2010, the iPhone hadn't even hit the island of Ireland. And then we all had to become, you know, social media managers, you had to become a model, you had to become funny, you had to become all of these things, as well as the side of retail that nobody wants to do, which is paperwork. So we're still surviving. And then COVID came at us, pull the rug out from under everybody's feet in a way that we wouldn't have imagined, and we're just rebuilding. So I think, you know, for everybody who loves going shopping, who loves having girly days out, who loves, you know, coming in and having that little special experience with their daughter, keep visiting shops. Even if you just pop in to say hello, it's all about everybody just keeping together as a fashion community and supporting each other, you know, and just keep coming in. Keep coming in.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Diane, you're a joy to talk to.
Oh, thank you. Cheers.
I'm just waiting for that lovely man to come back up with the
Yes,
champagne.
we'll have the bubbly now, guys.
Listen, guys, thank you again for tuning in this Sunday. Thanks for all the support, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Orla. It was great fun.